So the agenda for this afternoon, we're going to do welcome. As I said, I am Nisha Glasgow. I am a business development officer and I'm also a farmer. My passion is farming. I've been doing it now for over 20 odd years. And I hope that my experience, that you can learn something from me and that we can move our businesses further. And I can also learn from you. In terms of introduction, what I would love from you is if you can just unmute very briefly. We're going to take about 5 minutes. I know it's a couple of us. We're going to take about 5 minutes or so. Just briefly say your name and a passion, something that is interesting about yourself. So as I said, who wants to start? Can somebody start?
Good afternoon. I'm Sharon Allen. I have passion for farming. I love farming a lot. Because
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Yuriska Maloney.
Miss Maloney, and what?
Yes, and I love cooking.
Ah, good, great. Anyone else?
Good night. My name is Amanda Toppin McPhee. I love farming and cooking and experimenting.
Good. Welcome, Amanda. Next.
Good afternoon. My name is Angeline Powell, and I really love farming.
Ah, good, great. So I have a lot of, I have some persons who are very passionate about farming. Good.
Hi. Hi, good night. My name is LaDonna Lois Williams. I love gardening in general.
Good. Good.
Good night, everybody. My name is Alberta Davis, and I guess my passion is learning.
Ah, good. Great. Great, Alberta.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dorothy Ismail. Originally from St. Lucia, but resides up here now. From a farming community. Love farming and sailing.
Good. That's great. That's interesting.
Good night. My name is Jan Olivier Providence. I love farming and I love new innovations.
Ah, good.
Good evening. Sorry. Good evening. My name is Sheila Francis. I like to see things change from one state to another.
Brilliant. Well, I hope to help. I hope after this session, Shirley, that we would at least provided you with some information that we can see some change.
I hope so too.
Right. Azuba Jacobs, I'm seeing you. Great.
Hi,
Anyone
good night.
else?
I'm John. I like to plant stuff, and most of all, I like to reap them.
Good. I hope you like to sell them as well. Great. Anyone else? Did I miss anyone?
Good night. I'm Ronita Oliver. Hello.
I did not get your surname.
And I'm passionate. Ronita Oliver.
All right, good.
And I'm passionate about farming both on land and in water.
Oh, good.
But in general, I like learning new things.
It's great. Good. So we'll explore that water concept.
Good night. I am Joylyn Lampkin, and my passion is protecting and preserving the environment. I'm a natural farmer, and I love doing farming without chemicals. Thank you.
Good. Great. I'm missing a few persons.
Good night.
Good night.
I'm Shafika Andrews. I love farming. I love working with people in terms of farmers. And even if you're not a farmer, I try to encourage persons to get into farming.
Yes.
I look forward to learning lots of new things.
I'm going to see how best I can help you with that, my dear. I'm missing some person. Did I hear Miss Powell? Did I hear Miss Roberts?
Good night. My name is Fiona, and I am very much in love with tourism, also gardening, and I love to make money. So I am here to learn how to put these three things together to benefit my others.
That's a good one, Fiona. Thanks for mentioning that. That's great. Anyone else? I'm missing few persons. So
Good night. My name is Michael Morgan, and I love growing my own thing at home.
right, great. I'm missing some persons.
Good night. I'm Natalie Huggins. I
All
love
right.
farming. I love to produce what I eat organically.
Oh, good. So we have Miss Lampkin has company. Anyone else? Did I miss anyone? If I missed anyone and you're now coming in, what you can probably do is just drop your name in the chat and your passion so that I can follow up after, since we're recording the session. All right, great. So now we have done the introduction and we've done the welcome. What I want to do now is that what I tend to do is ask the Lord's present into our session. So if we can just briefly give me a minute or so, and let me just introduce the Lord's present into our session so that we can proceed. All right, so we can just break. Good. So Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for preserving us today and for giving us life and for allowing us to do this session. Father, thank you for allowing these ladies to be here and also for their brief introduction and to sharing their passion with us this afternoon. Father, as we proceed, we ask that you join us and that you open our minds and that you allow us to share and that we allow us to intake, and so that whatever we learn, we would partake it and we would also share it with others. Father, I ask that you open my mind and you open my mouth, and that whatever I'm saying would be clear so that the ladies may understand and that they may be able to use it to go forward. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your mercies, and we thank you for your grace. In Jesus' precious name, amen. All right. Thank you very much, ladies, for that. I would just want to say one thing else, and I'm not sure if it was introduced into your last session. What I would like you to do for my session, at least, is to keep a notebook to build a profile. I'm not sure if you got it. In terms of jotting down things that you understand, that you want clarity on, so that whenever I return probably for session 2, things that we need to go through, that I might just need to clarify some things for you. The other thing that I want is 2 volunteers. I need 2 volunteers to recap today's session in session 2. So if I can get 2 volunteers who would be willing to recap what we covered in this session, in session 2, I will welcome that. I'll just take the names of those persons. And when I say recap, you can do it in any fashion. You could sing a song, you could give a poem, you can act if you want. We welcome creativity. So can I have 2 volunteers? It will not be hard. It will just basically be your understanding. It will not be, you won't have to say everything, just what you understood, what stood out for you, and what was important. So can I have 2 volunteers? I don't want to call names. I like to give freedom. Can I have 2 volunteers? Just 2 volunteers.
I am here volunteering, Fiona Primus.
Fiona Primus, thank you very much. Can I have one more?
Volunteering, Angeline Powell.
Thank you. So ladies, I don't know, you can probably work together and do something, or if you want to do individual, I'm all for that as well. All right, so thank you very much. So next session, I'll give you at least 5 minutes to make your presentation. Thank you very much for volunteering. Okay, Latoya, with us still?
Yes, I am.
Good. Can you just... So as I said, this was good. So the objective for the session, so this would be the objective for the 3 sessions. We would be looking at, we're going to be examining agribusiness and the value chain concept and impact. Your demographic said a lot of you do not have formal business training. So I try to craft the presentation in such a way that at the end, you have some information as it pertains to agribusiness. We're going to be looking at some tools for agribusiness growth and development. And at the 3rd session, we should be looking at some opportunities and how we can develop so that we can develop enterprises sustainably and also using innovation. All right, good. Next slide, please. Good. So at the end of the session, or the sessions, we will enhance a bit of agriculture and agribusiness development literacy, so your understanding and awareness of what agribusiness is and the opportunities that lies within the sector. We will explore some skills in terms of leveraging tools for agribusiness development, different tools that we can use to move businesses from where they are, whether you're at the idea stage or whether you're at the startup stage, to actually full-blown businesses. And we're going to promote and we're going to implement some business development best practices. So we will look at those things going forward, right? Good. So my first activity for the day, I know we have had long days. We've been having some rain, lovely weather these days. I want you, I'm just going to give you 1 minute to draw a picture of your favorite activity or activities that you do to relax or unwind after a long day or a week. So I'm going to give you 1 minute, and then we would share. You would just put on your camera and you would just share your picture, and we will try to guess what that activity is. Do you understand? Do I need to make it any clearer? Can I get some feedback, please?
I understand.
Good. So I'm going to give you 1 minute. I'm going to try and
If
draw
you
mine.
can't draw,
That's no problem. Stickman, you could use Stickman. That's no problem. That's no problem at all. If you want to animate it, if you want to put on your camera and animate, fine. I don't have a problem. Now is your time to be free. Now is your time to relax. So just draw your favorite activity. I'm going to try to draw mine as well. I'm not much of a drawer, but I'm going to try. So let's see what we can do. We have 1 minute. Latoya, can you time for me, please?
Okay, started.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Time is up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Latoya. So who wants to share first? Anybody want to share first? Would anybody want to share first? Can I have one volunteer? Can I have 5 persons willing to share tonight? I know, ladies, you're passionate about agriculture. So I know you're not shy. Good. Angeline, did I pronounce that correct?
Yes, please.
Good. So you want to put on your camera and show us what your passion, what you do to relax?
This one. Hold on.
Don't worry, we will make a try. We would guess.
Are you seeing me or the book?
So I'm seeing you. So let's see the book now. Okay.
I can't draw. So
can you hold it up a little bit more to the camera? Ladies, anybody seeing?
It's a stick man. I can't really draw. I can't draw.
Good. So what's your? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it clear.
You're not seeing it clearly?
No, I'm not seeing it clear.
Well, sorry.
So tell us what it is. Tell us what you love to do to unwind.
Swim. Swimming.
Ah, you love to swim.
Yeah.
Great. I can't swim, so you might probably have to teach me. Good. Would anybody else want to share before I share mine?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. All right there.
Hold on, yes. Let me put on the camera.
No problem.
Seeing me? You seeing the book?
No, I'm not seeing the book.
What are you seeing?
So just hold it up to the camera. Let me see if we can guess. Can anybody see it to guess? Would anybody want to try?
I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I'm not seeing as well, Anastasia. Sorry about that. Would you want? Okay, so tell us what the activity. Tell us what the activity is.
Okay, look at TV, crime scene investigation.
Good, great. Can I have one more before I share mine? Good, Dorothy, I'm seeing your hand. Good, so you want to share? Okay, so what is that? Anybody want to help me? Let me see, what's that? What's that?
I can't really see anything.
Dorothy, is that eating? Is that swimming? What's that? Cooking? I'm not seeing it. What is it, Dorothy?
Having a glass of wine.
I knew it had something to do with eating. I'm looking and I'm looking and I say, okay.
My glass.
I'm seeing
My
it.
wine glass.
No, I'm seeing it. Good. That's great. So you love red wine, Dorothy?
Yes.
Good. So I hope you will sample some
any
local
wine, dry, red, Malbec, Sauvignon, anything, wine.
Great. All right. So I'll take Phyllis. And then I'll share mine. Thanks very much, Dorothy. Phyllis?
Hello, good night.
Hi, good night, Phyllis. Good.
Let me
So let's
see.
see. Let's see yours now. Oh, so Phyllis, I'm seeing flowers. So you love to plant stuff. It's flowers?
Yes, yes.
Good. So Phyllis loves
I
to
do a bit
plant.
of gardening and
Phyllis, you can
flowers.
draw. Phyllis, you can draw. That's good. You can draw. That's good. Great. All right, ladies. Shafia. Okay, good. So I'm gonna share mine. Let's see if you can guess. Can you see it? Can you figure out? Sorry, peoples, I cannot draw. I just cannot draw.
Drink tea and watch TV.
Yeah, man. I love tea. I just love tea, and I love looking at TV. That's what I do. To unwind. Good. So, ladies, as always, thank you for participating. Thank you very, very much, and for at least attempting to do the activity. It's always good to have that little thing that after a long tiring day that you can relax with and unwind. All right. It gives you time to think and reflect. Good. Great. So, Latoya, next slide, please. What is my timeline? Good. So ladies, our first discussion for tonight. Latoya, can you click again? Good. So I have two options there, and I want you to share in terms of how you feel about it. Which approach would you take? So I have three options. I have option A: would you go to crops you usually grow and then try to find a buyer? B: would you find a new crop, grow it, and then look for a buyer? Or C: would you find out what product customers want, then grow it? Can you choose one? Can you choose all?
C.
Are you in C? Okay, so who said C? Jan. Jan, why did you say C? Keisha said C as well.
If I'm going to grow crop for marketing, I have to know who wants it first, who my customers would be before I decide. Because suppose I decide to grow something, nobody wants that.
Okay, great. But so what's the issue if I find a new crop and then just grow it? I mean,
yeah, well, that would be for me. But if I want to do a little bit more,
good.
I would need to know it. So it all depends on what my purpose for growing the crop.
Brilliant. Very brilliant. That's the important thing that you mentioned there. We'll be looking at agribusiness. And if we're looking at business, then we are in business to make money, right? That's why we're doing business, right?
Yes.
Yes. Good. So if you're thinking business, then you need to think it from a logical standpoint. But our agriculture system in St. Vincent the Grenadines is like this. Grow the crops you usually grow, then try to find a buyer. That's how a lot of our markets operate. And we want to change that, right? So for us to change that, then we have to find a product that customers want and then grow it. Everything that we need to do in terms of business must be based around our customers at the end of the day. So you ladies mentioned that you love to grow things. You love to reap them. I heard reap them. I had love to grow things and everything like that. But at the end of the day, we're looking at how we're going to move your idea or what you're doing from just being a passion and you actually making money from it. So the right answer, the correct answer, or the correct way that you should really be thinking is that here what? Find out what our customers want and then we grow it. Thank you very much for sharing, ladies. Latoya, can we move on? Good. So our second discussion. Would anybody love to attempt to tell me what they think is agribusiness? Have you ever heard it before? Have you ever heard the concept? And if you have heard it, what is it you took from what you heard as it pertains to agribusiness? One person, two persons? Anyone ever heard the concept? Just give me a thumbs up, or you could drop it in the chat.
Making a business out of agriculture, basically.
Great. Thanks very much, Angeline, for that. Thanks for that. Would anybody else want to attempt?
Changing the state of an agriculture product to a secondary product, from a primary product to a secondary product.
Oh, good. So we're talking about adding value and adding value to our raw materials right there. Okay, great. One more person before we actually look at the definition of what is agribusiness.
Putting products on the market for sale. We'll do well, crop production, the processes and marketing, stuff like that.
Good. All three are involved in agribusiness, and Jansen using raw material to make another product. Good. All three are involved in when we're looking at agribusiness. So basically, agribusiness is coining agriculture. So our production end. So it's looking at the production end of agriculture and all the other steps actually get the final product to the market. So whoever your final customer or consumer are, that is what the holistic system of getting a product from production to the final customer. So agriculture or agribusiness involves farming, production, marketing, and management of agricultural commodities like grains, vegetables, fruits, and livestock. From a broader perspective, an agribusiness also consists of resource management, conservation, ranching, or we say ranching, we're looking here at livestock, and the sale of the agricultural product. So it's the production, the whole concept, you sitting down and deciding which product you're going to produce, and then moving it from production, whether you're going to add value to it before you actually sell it to your customer, or if you're just going to sell it in its raw form. Same thing with your livestock. And it looks at how you just did sustainability, how it looks at resource management and conservation. So that is what I want you to take away in terms of what agribusiness is all about. And we're going to dwell a little bit deeper into it as we proceed in today's session and also the other two sessions going forward. Latoya? Good. So one of the most difficult things that I've had in terms of researching to do this presentation is finding local examples. One thing that we're not very good at in St. Vincent is actually documenting our experiences or documenting what we do. And it has been a bit difficult to find videos or storytelling that I could use in terms of local presentation. So what I did, I had to search and search, and I found this video on API. I want to share it with you so that we get a concept of what agribusiness looks like and how we can apply it to what we do. So let's just take a couple minutes, look at this video, and then we would share what we took from it. Okay, good, great. Thank you, Latoya.
Efforts in making farming a lucrative business. They are just two of many farmers who contribute significantly to the agricultural sector in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Here is more.
Farming is vital in any society. It is a basic pillar of living and lucrative business venture. Wesley and Listra Davis, both of the community of Evesham, have been in farming for 3 years and with 2 acres of land at their disposal are fulfilling lifelong goals through the harvest of their labor. Mr. Davis tells us what motivated him to get into farming.
What actually inspired me is I actually want to help people, and food is one of the best thing to actually help people, because people have to eat, and at least, and sometimes it's a good income for me also. Yeah, I plant sweet peppers, butternut squash, butter beans, lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes, purple cabbage, green cabbage, pachoy, and carrots and some others. We are intend to do otherwise.
Outlining his market, Davis credits divine intervention for a great deal of his success.
Yeah, I get my stuff and them sell. All the secret graves and all the massy and other vendors on the street. And with market, I don't really have to worry about market, because God will supply the market for me every time I ask.
His initial investment eventually turned into major profits.
Whatever money I work, I actually, first I was planting some beans, and I actually make $1,000, and I just invest that money back into farming. Don't you use any? And that $1,000 turned into $2, and then it turned into $6, then it turned into $8, and then.
At present, Mr. Davis utilizes almost all of his land. He explains his plans to expand.
See if I could occupy more land and try to see if I could employ people in the community, because this is where I'm from. So we're supposed to help each other in the community before we go outside.
Describing his cultivation practices as a team effort, Mr. Davis says his wife, among other family members, play a major role on this farm.
Mostly my wife is right here, and my mom and my dad and God.
Well, my role is normally to set seeds, help along with the weeding, and sometimes give the manure and pluming, and look for business ideas as well. How we're going to do this tomorrow, how we're going to plant this, when we're going to plant it, and also look for markets. We have 2 sons as well, and both of them, as small as they are, they come and they help in the garden as well. Normally, my 7-year-old, he loves to do the weeding with me. So normally, I will give him his little chore. Okay, help me weed this row, I will do this one. When you come around again, we keep helping each other. And then even the little one wants to take away the rubbish. When we weed it out, he have his little bucket, he carry what amount he could carry and he throw them away. They keep competing against each other to help. So you see, it's just like a family business. So we help each other.
Crop rotation and record keeping are fundamental elements in farming. Mrs. Davis outlines her strategies in sustaining the farming business.
Well, normally when you go into plants, you need to know exactly, okay, I plant this tomato for this week, how much time apart, how much weeks apart before I could plant the other section, so that you could always have production. So when one finish, the other one start to come in, stuff like that I do. Whenever I do the planting, say I plant tomatoes today, this week, then we have to know exactly when we must plant the other one. So normally I write it down, okay, I plant tomato for this week. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, I will be planting tomatoes again, so that I will always have production. So normally I just keep the record of doing all those things. Well, normally we keep records to say, okay, well, we plant this week, and when we sell that, we know exactly how the business went with that part. If we get to carry out the amount that we're supposed to, so next time we can know how much to plant again. So you have to keep record of that as well, to know how much you should plant. If it's in demand, you get to plant more, like that. So we keep record for those things too. Setting the seedlings is one of the greatest things for me doing, because I love doing it. It does be timeful, because you have to be spending time, some of the seeds are small, you have to be setting them up, but it all pays off. So I enjoy doing the setting of the seeds and taking care of them, watering them, making sure that they grow the way they're supposed to. So when you plant them out now, they will be healthy, no fungus, no worms eating them up, so you have to keep them going healthy as ever, because it's just like babies. You have to take care of your baby if you want the baby to grow up healthy. Same with the plants, the seedlings. Yeah. Yeah, a lot. That's what I love doing. Both of us do it together. We enjoy doing it together. We help each other. With the most of all, God help us. Well, I just want to say to other couples out there, young couples like both of us, if you start to do something that you love, just go ahead and do it. Agriculture is a wonderful thing to be doing. It helps to produce market for others worldwide, in the Caribbean, as well as in your community or around. So therefore now you can get to sustain food for everybody and everybody will be happy. Just like how we are happy doing it, you keep doing something that you love and God will help them through as well.
And I realize that you're living in close proximity, you're living close to the farm.
Yeah.
Tell us what kind of advantage you think you have when it comes to living close to the farm.
Okay, one of the advantages that we have, right? Living close to the farm is that when you get up on mornings, you can get up as early as you want and you just take a couple of footsteps and you reach to get things done. Because we love to get up early and start our day early.
The Ministry of Agriculture is committed in assisting farmers in growing and developing their businesses, and the Davis family benefits from the service offered by the ministry.
The fields officers come around and they assist me with some compost, so liquid compost that I use to drench right at the root, and they help boost the plant a lot, especially the seedlings. Yeah, because they really boosting up the seedlings 100%. I would like to do some greenhouses, because that is one thing I love about greenhouse, the vertical, and you can control the amount of sunlight and the water, and the irrigation thing. I love all of that, and it's just wonderful. I know greenhouse I love. In the future, I will love to have greenhouses because climate changes. Much of the time, you get dry weather, and too much of something, of one thing is bad. If too much sun, bad for the plant. Too much water, bad for the plant. With a greenhouse system, you actually controlling the amount of sunlight ray coming through because of the plastic, and you controlling the amount of water flow with the irrigation. So that is a big benefit, especially in storms and dry weather and a lot of rainy season. Yeah, that will benefit me real good, And taking care of crop is one thing I love to do. I love to do it. It's my thing.
So in terms of your achievement thus far, have you achieved anything, as you might say, substantial? Say, boy, after 3 years or whatever, I have achieved this. Something that you can see and you feel you're satisfied. You have that kind of satisfaction within you?
Yes. Over the period of time, years I'm working for the 3 years, I end up on buy my land where my house is, and I feel very good about it because I don't have to go to the credit union or to the bank.
Extension Officer within the Ministry of Agriculture, Shamika Grant, describes working with the Davis family as a wonderful experience since they are innovative and hardworking.
I am honored to work with the young Davis couple. They are so self-motivated, and half the times I come here and do visitation with them, I want to spend the whole day. There's always something to do. I am learning as well from Mr. Davis because his techniques are different from what I would have known. And I bring along farmers as well to make sure come and see different methods and they adapt as well. Bringing other young farmers to see the Davis's production has always been a positive feedback. This farm it could be used as a model farm. The techniques are there. Their methods are good. Their fertilizer technique, their application, everything is properly done. As I said, there's good feedback from other community members, other districts that we are working with, and we are making a change here. It's self-sufficiency, and it's very positive.
Finally, on this evening's program, Inside Minute takes you to Beckway to show you how to
Good. All right, ladies, I know that video was a bit lengthy, but to be honest, it actually covered a lot of things that we would be looking at going forward. I want to know, will anybody be willing to share what stood out for them in that video? What would they like to take away as it pertains to that video?
Yes, please. What stood out for me is the record keeping, because it helps
so that you'll always have produce further down. So you won't have one set of thing over a period of time. You would get space in between.
Good.
Right.
Anything else? Anyone else?
Yeah, what stood out for me, the different technique and the way they plant the fruits and they name out the pepper and everything, and how distance the plant from one another so that they could get good market for the plant, for the fruits. That
Thanks,
stood out to
Sharon.
me. You're welcome.
Anyone else? There was a lot
Good night.
there's a lot of good things that came out of that video.
Good night.
Hi, Miss Lorraine.
Right. What stood out for me was the record keeping and the benefits of the record keeping, as in you would know when you have a large demand how to plan to meet that demand, and also the togetherness in the
All right,
really
great.
like how they work together as well. And he also outlined the step, the greenhouse. He's saying, okay, this is good, but guess what? It could even get better when once these things are in place. So
Good.
yes, it's a great video.
Thanks.
Great
Thanks,
listen.
Lorraine. Thanks, Lorraine. And some persons put some interesting in the chat as well. Phyllis says because the lands were not their own, they now own them. Corporation and record keeping, very good. The proximity of the farm, teamwork, division of labor, and the production, record keeping, very, very important. Thanks, ladies. Anybody else want to just share their takeaway? Anybody else? Okay. So a couple things came out of that video. Latoya, we could see the next slide, please. Good. So I want you to take away a couple things as it pertains to that video. Let me adjust my slides. Okay, good. So investment and expansion. Those are two topics that came out very clear. He got the piece of land. They're now in production. They were in production for 3 years at the time that the video at the time that they did the video. So he basically was looking to expand, and he made investment. As he said, he produced stuff, he sold them, he made $1,000, he invested it back, and that thousand went to 2, that 1,000 went to 3, that 1,000 went to 4. And that is something we need to pay attention to. A lot of us take the money from the farm and we use it, but really and truly that money belongs to the farm. So investing in what we're doing is very, very important. If we're looking to move business from where we are, our idea stage or startup stage, because they're a startup company, farm, and move to the next level. And then he's thinking very much about expansion. A lot of things. He talked about greenhouse. He talked about additional crops. He talked about purchasing additional land. So he was not really ever thinking about just staying one size. And that's another thing that is very, very important if we are looking to actually develop our businesses. So it's important to, when you make money, please remember to invest it back into the business, and don't think about just remaining small. Do other things. You could add value, as Ms. Francis said earlier. We could add value to basically to the product that we are doing now and add value to it and get a completely different product at the end. Creating employment and foster community development. Whatever we're doing, we need to make sure it impacts the community that we're living in. We talk about, when we're talking about the passion, the fact that we want to make changes. And that's one way we can do it. He employed persons from the community when necessary. And he mentioned the fact that he wants to see community development. He shares the food, he gives food in the community. Everything that we do, we have to see how we can impact the community that we are living in at some point. So agriculture is actually one of the catalysts for change in community development, in socio-economic development. So we need to make sure that what we do impacts our community in a positive way, right? By creating employment, if we have to share, if we have to give to the elderly who can't move, hey, see how you can at least do something to move your community from where it is to the next. And then role designation. His wife mentioned the fact that she is responsible for setting seeds. The children help with weeding. He is the one that actually does a lot of the planting and things like that. So we can't do everything. We're only one person. We try it. I know I'm guilty about that. We try it, but here what? We can't do everything. And I've gotten to the point now after 20 odd years of doing farming that here I realize that I can't do everything. So I have structured my business in such a way that I am good at production. So I deal with production. My mom is very good at doing accounts. So she handles all of the money, and my dad does my marketing and delivery for me. So you have to, if you're looking in terms of business development, you can't do everything. You have to expand, and your business only grow if you can you should at least try to employ someone. I just lost the two persons who worked with me because in terms to retirement. So I'm looking for persons, but as I said, role designation, you cannot do everything. You need to make sure that you find where your strength is or where your strengths are and capitalize on those. And if you have to bring persons in, try to do that, and then you will see the business grow, and that you will not be as tired. All right. And then I old persons, my grandmother always said to me, 2 heads better than one. Good. So try not to do everything. Youth involvement. That's the only how the industry can move forward. We have to see how much we can get the youth. And we don't need to sell agriculture as how our ancestors did. Agriculture is very sexy. There's so much different aspect of this whole agriculture and this whole agribusiness. So much different things. I know you want to send your children away to study science. I don't have a problem with that. I absolutely am okay with that. But here what? We need scientists, we need persons to come back within the agriculture industry and start agribusinesses that look at seeds development. So we talk a bit about biotechnology and all these things. Here what? There are opportunities there in terms of agribusiness development. You want to tell them to go and study law, we don't have a problem. Land tenureship is an issue in agriculture and agribusiness. Hey, let them come back and start a law firm that deals with agriculture and agribusiness and land tenureship and things like that. So I really don't have a problem. Every aspect of economic development can be brought in to the agriculture and to the agribusiness sector that you can use, that young people can use to develop. We need them in the sector. So he mentioned the fact that here what? Youths and also his children. Very, very important. His children are involved in some little way in the business, and then eventually they tend to grasp ownership and love for what they do and probably take it over from you years to come. All right. Business planning and strategies. His wife mentioned that as well. They sit down, they use whatever information in terms of they have, and they plan. What are we going to do for the next crop rotation? When should we start? Who we're marketing to? What they want in terms of how they want the crop produced and delivered. So they plan, and that's very, very important. As business persons or as persons within the agriculture industry, business planning is important. Going forward, we will look at some of these strategies that we can use in terms of planning so that we can move the agribusiness forward. So we will touch those later on. So, and the other thing, last but not least, a lot of things came out, record keeping. That has been an issue with even persons that I work with on my daily basis. Farmers tend not to keep records. And I don't know, if you're not keeping records, how do you make decisions? How do you know what to plant? It's important to keep records. Even if, for example, I'm not really that savvy in terms, I really don't like to write. I really don't like to write. So what I tend to do, I have a calendar in my room. And on that calendar, every day, sometimes right now you can't even make out that today is the 31st of, Sunday was the 29th of October, and on the 29th of October, you can't even see the 29th for me. I have so much things that I wrote down there, what I did on Sunday when I visited the farm. So right there, you can always go back, and then you always remember to walk with your bill book when you are doing transactions. That tells you how your money went. Make sure you keep your receipts. and things like that. So it's important to do record keeping. So ladies, thank you very much for look and for your patience. I know that video was a bit long, and for sharing your takeaway. We're gonna move now into a bit more into, hey, business. How do we do this thing? So what are the drivers of agribusiness development? Couple of things that have been happening in the agribusiness industry that I just want to take the time to mention. Going forward, we have been having environmental changes and challenges. We're looking at what's happening to us right now. Climate change is just impacting the agriculture industry so much. And I would advise you, for persons who are probably not in groups and organizations, to hear what? Join a group, join an organization that looks at agriculture or that looks at business development. Why I'm saying that to you? Hear what? There's a wealth of information in these particular things. I joined groups, and right now, but at the beginning of every year, or just before the beginning of every year, I get information as to what's going to happen to us, climate change. Hey, it's not perfect, but it gives me that information in terms of how I make decision in the crops that I'm going to plant at a given time. At the beginning of the year, I knew that we were going to have a very long dry season. I got that information very early. So that gave me the opportunity to hear which crop would I be putting in. For example, I plant cabbage. So it said to me that, here what, I need to find a variety of cabbage that would cater for the drought. Because before joining this group and having access to this kind of information, I remember losing 2 fields of cabbage back to back, 1,500 heads of cabbage one time, because I did not know that we had this beautiful wet season, and I did not realize that we're going to have this prolonged dry season. The cabbage picked up a fungus, and that was it. End of story. So it's important for you to say, here what? Let me find out information in terms of what the weather is going to look like, or what the climate is going to be like in a year. It probably might not be perfect, but at least you have that information that will fuel you making decisions going forward. So let's look at environmental changes and challenges. And then, of course, we're battling the volcanic ash that is still around. And when I won't say ash, I said concrete, because it's completely not an ash, it's concrete, and it's affecting agriculture so bad. And then this prolonged drought season that we had this year is going to impact how our Christmas is going to look in terms of our veggies and also our tree crops and things like that. So it's important to always bear in mind our environmental changes and challenges. The other thing that is happening is that here what? We're having massive change in consumer taste and preferences. What's going on? We're all talking now about healthy food. We're talking about organic. And I really don't like to say organic so much, especially in St. Vincent. I know it's a debate. It's a debate, and I don't have an issue in terms of the debate, but I like to say more natural, because here what? We use even if we don't use chemical, the farmer next to us use chemical, the other one use chemical. And recently I was looking at a report that came out in terms of what our water content looks like, what's happening with our water. And it's not really one of the best things, especially as it relates to our rivers, and we drink that water. So, hey, it's important. What's happening? Find out what is going on, what customers are asking for. As I said, once you're moving business, always remember, it's never about you, especially if you're looking to move your idea or your startup to a full-grown business. It's never about you. It's always about what your customer wants, what your customer needs, what's going on with them in terms of what's happening in the economy, how much money they have access to, how often would they buy, what's available in the supermarket shelf, what's available in the market, what can you get into, what are they looking for. So it's important for you to find out, hey, what's really going on with our customers, what's going on with our consumers, because we know customers and consumers, hey, both different things, both different persons. So let's pay a bit of the attention to what's happening in St. Vincent recently. All right, technology advancements. So much things happening right now in terms of agriculture and technology. Agriculture has been the driver for technology for so much years, and I don't know how much persons actually realize that. We have been responsible for machinery development. The sector has been responsible for how our food are produced, shelf life of food, consistency. Technology is the giver or the driver of agribusiness development right now. So much things. We're now introducing drones in terms of information uptake. We are looking at nanotechnology. We're looking at biotechnology. We are looking at vertical farming. We are looking at so much things going on in terms of technology. So we need to look at what's happening in the industry and what we can adapt within our business so that we move from one stage to another. Sometimes we probably do not have as much space as we would like. So here what we could probably think about greenhouses. We could probably think about vertical farming. We could think about aquaponics. We could think about hydroponics. So much things happening in terms of agribusiness development that we can take from just a little plot of land and feed so much. And last but not least, market access and integration. So what's happening in the value chain? Well, when I say value chain, we're going to look at that a little later. In terms of value chain, what's happening in the value chain? What is happening from production to consumer? Logistics. Are we able to access our raw material on time? Are we able to get seeds? What are our markets available? What's going on in the market? Are people buying? Are people not buying? What are they buying? What are they not buying? Because, for example, a couple of years ago, I remember I used to produce a lot of eggplants and I didn't have a single problem getting. People used to be calling me in terms of getting eggplants, supermarkets, cook shops. Now, you hardly see eggplants. I'm still trying to do some research in terms of what's happening with eggplants, but you're hardly seeing eggplants. So you need to understand what's going on in the market and you need to take that information and adapt. All right, we have to be flexible if we need to survive in this particular economy that we are in now. Would anybody have any questions on this particular slide? Anything that I've said that you need clarity on? You can either drop it down in your profile or at the end for the questions and answer session, or we can deal with it here now. Any questions? We're good? Angeline?
We're not seeing the number 4, the value chain bit.
You're not seeing it? I am seeing it. So I'm not sure, Latoya. I am not sure.
Okay.
You seeing it now?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Good. So Latoya, next slide. Good. So, all right. So we're going to look at the impact of agribusiness development. As I said, we will just be covering some concepts tonight. We'll dwell into the finer details in terms of agribusiness development in the next session. So we have economic impacts. So we have agribusiness affects income and profits. So we can see an increase in income and profits. It also drives employment opportunities. It's a big foreign exchange earner because once we add value, or even not add value, we could actually ship away our raw material, which I tend to tell people here, let's add value to it and get a little bit more out of our production. So it's a foreign exchange earner. And here it offers an opportunity for competitiveness. And when I say competitiveness, what do I mean? Basically, you have an opportunity to compete or to exist in an environment that allows you to grow. So because your competition is doing this, then you have to do that, or you might probably decide to do similar to what they're doing, and that actually drives development. It brings innovation, it brings sustainability. So you do things a bit different. You do things a little bit more professional in what you're doing, and it forces you to compete with others. What's going on? So not because a farmer is doing cabbage. For example, because I plant cabbage and I have other farmer friends around me that plant cabbage. We're going to be doing the same thing. As Mr. Davis said, he looks at his spacing. He looks at the variety of his cabbage. Take these things and actually influence or adapt your business in such a way that it can compete in what the others are doing. All right. In terms of social, it impacts food security and nutrition. Hey, we just learned that during COVID. And we just learned that during our volcanic eruption. And then after those two incidents, we now dealing with trying to do what is still trying to grapple with what is happening with the Russia-Ukraine war. That war is having effect on food security, and it's also having effect on nutrition, because some of the things that we are accustomed to getting, we're not getting them, and we probably not producing them here. So we have to wait on supply. The supply and chain, the logistic chain for supply is a bit more difficult. Up to this today, I was speaking to a client of mine, and he was saying to me that a container that he expected to be here a month ago is still in Puerto Rico. So it affects a lot of things in terms of supply and logistics. So poverty and equality, reduction, it affects poverty. So people now have access to food. We also have access to employment, because agribusiness provides employment once you align your business in such a way that it can go. And it's an empowerment of organization. Now, I wanted to mention this because I know a lot of persons don't like to work in teams. And it's actually one of the downfall in agriculture, in the whole agribusiness development. Agribusiness basically, especially, allows organizations to grow. It gives that organization the power to make change. So I wanted to mention the whole fact that socially, agribusiness empowers organizations. The issue is how the persons operate within the organization, because organizations can come together from an agriculture standpoint and have access to a lot of things. You have access to grants, you have access to opportunities to travel, you have access to opportunity to learn. What agribusiness does is basically gives organization an opportunity to grow. Once that organization is structured in such a way that it allows for sustainability and innovation to be a part of what they're doing. The other thing, it creates environmental impacts. The funny thing about this one is that agriculture both have positive and negative impacts on the environment. So you just did your sustainability session, so I don't need to go back into that, but there are also the issue of leaching. When we have erosion, water supply, we do a lot of slash and burn, so we're damaging our soil and things like that. We use a lot of chemicals. These chemicals get into our water, it gets into our food, it gets into the soil. So both positive and negative impacts as it pertains to agribusiness development, right? It promotes sustainability, mitigation of climate change, and environmental degradation. So these are just some of the impacts I want to mention. There are a lot. You can also do some research and find out more, but these are just some of the ones as it pertains to business that I wanted to mention. So that's why I know we have about an hour. Awesome. Because we still have a couple of slides. So we'll see how we can. I promise ladies to finish at 8 tonight. Good. So what are some of the categories of agribusiness? So we have production. It starts with production. So which includes seeds, feed, fertilizer, energy, equipment, machinery, and the likes. Now, because of the topography of St. Vincent, we tend not to mechanize a lot of what we do as it pertains to agriculture. But if you look at the other countries, the major countries like the US and England, you just need to go on YouTube and put in agriculture mechanization, and you would see some beautiful machinery at work for planting, for reaping, for fertilizing, for preparing of land. Mechanization of agriculture is one of the areas that is growing, and we might probably need to start looking at. And it's simple. We do weeding, and there are now weeders that has, you use your weed eater, and you go through your crops. I tend to, because I'm responsible for production, I try to find ways and means to make what I do a little bit easier so that I have more time to do other things. And I have been exploring the concept of finding a weeder. So all I simply need to do is attach this head to this weeder and use it. And I think presently I do peppers as well. And presently I don't weed my peppers. I use a weed eater to my peppers just to help me in terms of controlling weed, because I really don't like the chemical part of it in terms of, as we say, burn our land. So you need to find those things that ease in terms of production and help your business to go forward. So try to be innovative, find sustainable ways in terms of how you could reduce your production costs, right? And then another categories are agriculture commodities like raw processed items of food and livestock. So for example, so here now is where we look at the adding value to our raw material. So for the persons who are into pepper sauce, for those who are into seasons, for those who are into jams, for those who are into relish, for the persons, for Dorothy, who I think is Dorothy, who loves her wines. All these things are areas that you can actually move in terms of your raw material and add value. So this is another category that if you're thinking in terms of agribusiness development that you can look into. I have seen the rise of agro-processing for the past 20 odd years in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I believe that there are room for so much more in terms of what we can do with our raw material. And we are blessed. We got to give God thanks and praise for that. St. Vincent is actually blessed with a lot of food. All right. And then the areas that a lot of us don't really pay attention to is the areas that look at services like marketing, accessing credit, so finance, processing, storage, packaging, transportation. Transportation is a big area in terms of where, if you're looking to do agribusiness development, that you have some room that you can maneuver. Again, if you have empowered organizations, you can approach these organizations and say to them, here, what? I am going to do a transportation business. I would more than be willing to move your goods for you. So this is an opportunity that's available here, that I know is available here now in terms of agribusiness development. Transportation. We have a lot of trucks, but not a lot of them carry agriculture produce. Everything have its pros and cons. So that's an area in terms of category for agribusiness that is available, that has some room in there for business development. And then, of course, processing, we mentioned that. Storage, big area. We don't have a lot of that here. So we tend to consume a lot of what we use in the fresh form, or even if you're processing it, it still has a very short shelf life because we don't invest in storage. And that's also an area that has some wiggle room in terms of if you're looking for a business idea for agribusiness development. Hey, why not offer storage? Cubic yards, how much cubic yards per feet? I am sure the opportunity is there. You just need to know how to market it, right? Good. Latoya, can we go to the next slide? All right, before I move on to this particular slide, are there any questions? If I'm speaking too fast, you just need to stop me. Any question, ladies? No questions, so I can go on? I can move on? Do we need a break? Do we need a minute break before I go on?
I am interested in knowing what can weed. You were just talking about something that can weed, that you can attach to help with weeding.
Good. So Charlotte, as I was saying very early when we were talking about, when we were looking at, I think was environmental change, when I was talking about the drivers for agribusiness, and I was talking about technology, what I did is that recently I found a group on Facebook, I think, that I joined, Southern Chemicals or something to do with agriculture. So I joined the group because I found it interesting. I joined the group, and in joining that group, I now get videos and other additional information in terms of products that they have that's available that we can use. So what they do is that presently there is So you buy your weed eater, and the issue in terms of the weeder is actually the head. So it's a head that you can attach to your weed eater, and that head, there's a protection on it with 3 blades. So there's a protection there, so it does not damage the plant in any form or fashion. But what you can do is you can actually maneuver around the plant and help you in terms of weeding. As I said, I use my weed eater in my pepper production. I really and truly, because of the number of plants that I have, in terms of going and weed, all of that is going to just take all my attention, and then the other crops not going to get any attention. So I try to bring in technology as much as possible. So it's actually online, Facebook. I think it's Southern Chemical Agribusiness, I think. That's on Facebook. They ever so often they would send me information in terms of products that they have. So it's an actual head. It's about $85 in TT. I think I saw it for that you can attach to your weed eater. So I don't know. What I could probably do for you, Charlotte, is that I can bring the information for next session. If you can just remind me if I don't mention it in the session. Can you do that for me?
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay,
Yes, I
good. So I'll try to get that information for you. Do we need a minute break? Or I can continue?
Continue.
Okay, good. All right, good. So we're going to actually start to touch now the concept of agribusiness itself and how it actually functions. So we're going to be looking at the agribusiness value chain. If I say value chain, is that a new concept for everyone, or there are persons that have heard about it before? Anyone heard about value chain before? Even if it's not pertaining to agriculture. Michelle?
That's the first time I think I'm hearing it.
Okay, so it's the first time you're hearing value chain. Anyone else? Anybody even just have just a thought as to what it is? We'll explore it, but I just want to make sure that you have an idea. Anyone? So Patrice have heard about it. It's new to Alberta. Okay, great. Okay, good. So, but can't quite. No problem, no problem. We will look at it. New to me. Okay, good. So let's talk about value chain. Basically, value chain is when we take what we have presently in terms of raw material and move it along the process to the consumer. So it's all those activities from what we have in terms of raw material and all the policy government right down to our final consumer. We're going to look at it for the next couple of slides. So Latoya, can we? Good. So value chain, can you just stop right there, Latoya? Good. So value chain. So when we talk about the value chain, what we're looking at, and we're going to cater here for just agriculture value chain. So is it people and activities that bring a basic agriculture product, for example, vegetables or meat, from obtaining inputs and production in the field to the consumer through stages such as processing, packaging, and distribution. So is what we do to the raw material to actually make it accessible, or how our final consumer can use it. So it can be probably we just repackage sorrel in a lovely container or in a lovely bag, and then we put a nice label on it, and we use perforated bags, and then we put it there. We check it. We check it over first for shelf life and all of that. So it's that whole process. But for us to actually get that bag of sorrel from our field to the final consumer, there are a couple of things that we need to do. And we look at some of them. We have to pick it. We have to dry it. We have to, if we're gonna do it dry, or if we're gonna sell it fresh, we're gonna put it in a bag. We're gonna put a nice label on it. We're gonna bring it to market. So it's all that, all the activities, all the people that is needed to move your raw material from raw material to the consumer. So an example that I have there, I wanted to give you an example. So the trader sells the farmer's produce to a processor. So I am a pepper producer. I take my peppers and I sell it to someone who is doing agro processing, who is doing pepper in some form or fashion, whether pepper sauce, pepper relish, pepper jam, however they're doing it. Who supplies a wholesaler? So the processor now sells a wholesaler. So it could probably be, let's say for example, they sell CK grapes or a supermarket of some sort, right? Then the wholesaler now supplies a retailer. Now, you know, supermarkets, couple of these supermarkets like CK Graves and stuff have basically delivery trucks that goes out. So that's the retailing end of it, or you walk into the supermarket and you pick it up. Who supplies a consumer? Right, so that's the next end. So they supply a consumer. So you either go into the supermarket and you buy it, or you buy from the delivery truck. Then you become a customer. Or so you can also become a consumer. We will talk about those two interchangeables going forward. And they're very, very important in terms of how you can actually move your business forward. You need to understand the difference between who is a customer and who is a consumer. And then with transportation and other links in between. So you're going to need finance. You're also going to need transportation, as I said, and you're going to need packaging, and you're going to need machinery to do your processing and all of that. So it's the holistic view. Is that clear enough? Do I need to break it down a little bit more? I want to make sure that you understand it because we're going to be looking at it going forward. Anybody want a little bit more clarity? Life cycle of a product or process. Okay, we can look at that thing that is that at different stages value increases or decreases. All right. Anybody else want clarity? Do I need to break it down a little bit more? Just give me some feedback. Just give me a thumbs up.
Okay. Can you please break it down for me?
Okay. All right. Sharon, would you just allow me to go to the next slide because the next slide will break it down a bit further?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, good. All right. So, Latoya, good. So this is what a value chain looks like. It starts with policies and programs. Everything we do, government has a hand in it. We cannot get away from that. There are policies, there are programs that governs what happens in basically almost every sector, whether you're in tourism, whether you're in agriculture. Government policies govern what we do. So it starts at the government level. What policies government have in place for development of agriculture? It affects basically everything from the start right down to the bottom. Because how do we get access to seeds? Government would have a policy with that because at our ports, customs, you know, they have percentage for this, percentage for that. Many other things that policies govern in terms of agriculture. We need the Bureau of Standards in terms of, so government need to set up the Bureau of Standards and the policies, which is governed also by regional and international organizations in terms of how do we prepare our food for market and things like that. Then we need research and extension programs. A lot of us do not pay attention to this particular area. And this is an area that I think there are wiggle room for young persons who are interested in science, persons who are interested in just basic agriculture, persons who are interested in business, persons who are interested in law, persons who are interested in becoming doctors. Here, farmers do get sick as well. So this particular area, research and extension, this is important because we need to continue to do research to find out the seeds. We need to the inputs that will work for us based on what is happening in our environment and also based on technology advancement, based on consumer change, based on market access. So those drivers that we mentioned, this is the area that basically we need to look at. to influence everything else going forward. So once we complete our research and extension, then we look at farming and supplies and inputs. So where do we get our seeds, the type of seeds, the costs? Where do we get our other inputs? How easy are they readily accessible? Are available? How often do we get them? Can we just walk in? Do we have a lot of suppliers? In terms of variety, is there a lot? Are we just basically using the same thing over? Is there information on these things? Farm supplies and input. That's the next area in terms of the value chain that is very important. Then, of course, once we have our necessary inputs, we do the actual production. Here is where farmers get to be innovative and where farmers get to be savvy. We do all our record keeping and all of that. All right. After we finish production, we need to do something else with it. So we do processing. So it's either we decide to just sell the raw suppliers and we recycle this, recycle that, box of this, box of that, or we actually add value and process it. So now is where you get your wines, we get our jams, we get our jellies, we get our roti skins. You know, this is the area that we have an opportunity to be innovative. All right. And then the final end of it, where we do agriculture marketing, this is here where we meet our consumers, our customer and our consumers. Two different concepts. All right. So this is how it looks like. Sharon, I don't know, is there anything around here that you would want me to explain? Just jot it down in your book, and then we will I will see if I could basically, you know, either during the question and answer or next session answer your questions or your comments. All right, good. So Latoya, next slide, please. Good. So this is an example of a value chain. So we have the primary inputs. So I actually put two examples of the value chain, one that starts at inputs and the other one that actually starts at policy. So if we look at the one that starts with the primary input, that's where you're seeing your things like your seed, your land, your machinery, all those things that you need in terms of starting production, your finance, and all of that. Then we move on to production and processing. Here's where we produce our stuff, we add value to our stuff, and we move forward. And then transportation and infrastructure. Now, we can produce all we want if we don't have a machinery in place or a mechanism in place to move what we have on the farm to meet our final market. Then we're basically wasting time. Spinning top in mud, as old people normally say. We have to move what we have. Even if it's not us physically moving it, but somebody must come to move it. And for those that do processing, those that do agro processing, we have to take it to the market most of the time. So we need transportation along the way. At some point, transportation, whether we're taking van, whether we're taking car, whether we hire a truck, we need transportation at some point. We need finance at some point, whether we're taking it out of our pockets, whether we're taking it from friends and family, whether we're actually borrowing. The infrastructure for access to finance is very, very important. Later on in your session, you would be looking at finance as well. We need persons who provide packaging. How do we move it? Even if we're just looking at the sacks that we normally use, the bags that we normally use, the boxes that we use, having access to our labels, being able to access the package in terms of the bottles, all important services that needs to go along with agriculture to move your raw material from there to your final consumer. And then if we look at the actual value chain in action, you would see that it actually starts with the climate. So what's going on with the climate? What's happening in the environment? That feeds into, and not just our climate in terms of weather and things like that. Also what's happening in the economy. That feeds into what? Government. will do in terms of policy. And then, of course, there are laws and regulation. We have land tenure issues. We have customs to deal with and all of that. All right. And then technology. We have machines to do. We need to know whether we're going to be automating stuff. These days, we're looking at drones, all of that. And then, of course, currency funding. All right. So that's where it starts. And then we talk about the farmer who moves to the trader, who moves to a processor, who moves to a wholesaler, who goes to a retailer, and then, of course, final person that consumes what we produced 3 months ago. What we put from the very first seed, or probably the very first seedling into the earth, that is what happens at the end. The person is consumed. And in between there, we have the persons with the input providers, because we need those persons to provide us with seeds and chemicals and our trays and our potting mix and all these things. Our water bottles, our water boots, our overalls, everything but pertains to actually doing production. Then we have the persons, as I said, who do finance, transportation, and the big part that a lot of us don't ever want to do. I find agriculture persons don't embrace training much, is that training. We need to always upgrade ourselves. If not you, your staff. At the end of the day, you cannot stay at the same stage. Then it means that your business is not growing, or you yourself is not developing. And we are looking at sustainability, and we are looking at innovation. So it means that we have to continue to train. All right. And then, of course, access extension services. I know it's not the best. I'm fully aware of that. It's not the best, but I'm sure each and every one of us who are in the agriculture industry have some person that we can get information from, even if it's an old farmer or an actual extension officer or the ministry or even one of these other input suppliers. Try to access information. Information is power. All right. So that is how a value chain is in terms of just the flow, and then it's actually in action. Sharon, I hope it's getting a little bit clearer for you as we go along. And for all the others, if you have questions, just jot them down in your book and then we'll move on. Okay, so Latoya. Good. So how do we add value? Ms. Francis, you said that you're interested in adding value to your raw material. These are just some of the techniques that you can use in terms of how you can add value to what you are doing. All right. Let me see. Good. So we can add value by drying and shelling. So in terms of our sorrel, we could pick, you have 2 revenue streams as it pertains to let's say, for example, I'm going to use sorrel. You have 2 revenue streams. So you can actually sell the sorrel fresh. So you just pick it, you take it off the seed, and then you just package it and you can sell that fresh. You know, we do it every Christmas. You get 3 for $5, you get 2 for $5, and things like that. But then you can add value to that, and you can dry that sorrel. All right. And you could either sell it dried, where you get a little bit more for it, or you can actually decide to make sorrel juice and sell. So you have 3 revenue streams as it pertains to one crop, just by adding value. 2 things, just by drying and shelling it. All right. So that is what you need to think about in terms of, because we're in this for business. We're actually in this to make money. So how do I make money from this one crop that I'm doing? And I'm using sorrel here as an example. You can dry, you could pick your sorrel, deseed it, sell it, perforate it back like that, and sell it. Good. But then you could go that extra mile, and you could sun dry it, and you can package it, and you could sell that. And you get a bit more for that, because you sun dried it, or you could use a dehydrator and dry it, and you get that. Or you can decide to, hear what, I can make sorrel juice and I could sell. And I'm sure that I am mentioning only 3. since speaking, I could come up with about four or five more other additional stuff that I could do to soil just by adding value and making additional money. The other thing that we can look at is cleaning and sorting. So here what? We could decide that we could just sell our raw material just as it is. But if we take that little extra time and clean it and grade it, we could have two other or three other additional revenue streams. For example, let's use edibles. We could decide that we're selling edibles as it is. So we reap them, clean them, we put them in a bag, and we sell them. But here what? We could decide to grade. And in grading, we take one set and we sell those for probably a trafficker might come and say, here what? I just need the big ones. Okay, fine. You take the big ones, go with it. But then I could keep the small ones and I could dispose of them two ways. I could sell another farmer who is looking for planting material. So I could get money for those, using the little ones for planting material. Or I could peel them, pack them in a nice little package, put a label on it, and sell it. So I have convenient food, because these days, housewives don't really have time to do all that. And if we could actually just get them conveniently already peeled and stuff like that, we could just put them on the market so we could get them that way. Or we could probably say, yeah, what? Why not the traffickers taking the large ones? Why not sell the small ones probably to a poultry farmer who have broilers, who is willing to boil them in their raw form and feed the birds? So right there, you have 3 or 4 revenue streams. So you add in value, you're making a little bit more money. If we think outside of the box in terms of what is happening now. Storing and chilling. Of course, if I have a product and I have to store it for you, then you have to pay me for that. So I have 2 additional revenue stream. You have to pay me for storage and you have to pay me for chilling. Because electricity is a lot of money in this country. So add value by storing, and you also add value by chilling, because you can do packs, you could do pulps. So in terms of all the mangoes that you have on your land, you can pick them and you can pulp them and you can store them and you can sell them for persons who are making juice and for persons who are doing relish and for persons who are doing jams and things like that. So that's another 2 revenue stream there that you could actually make some money from, in terms if you add value to what you are doing presently with your raw material. And then if we know all about the processing and packaging, that's a big thing for us here. Everything Vincent just finished. I saw a lot of stuff with persons who are doing processing, from tea bags to jams to jellies to relishes to so much things I saw. All right. And of course, we all know about packaging, taking your raw material, doing the necessary cleaning and sorting, and package it and actually get a little bit more for it than if you just do the raw material. And then bulking. So we sell in bulk. That's a game that has been going on in agriculture for a long time, from cocoa beans to our normal root crops to vegetables. You get a bit more when you bulk. So you hold back stuff and you play the game and you get more. So these are some of the techniques that you can actually use in terms of adding value to what. There are many more, but I just wanted to mention these because we are actually looking at how we can move our idea or our startup to actually go into a full-grown business. Any questions? Did I go too fast? Do I need to go over any of those techniques that I mentioned? Ladies, you with me?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, yes, yes.
So are we clear on everything? Do I need to go back?
Yes, miss.
Okay, good. All right, great. So that's our next slide. Good. So I have one more video that I just want to share in terms of wrapping up all the concept that we have been talking about for the night. I promised to try to finish at 8. So that's because I know we've all had long days. So there's one more video that I want to show just to wrap up all the concepts, and then I will see what your takeaways are. So Latoya, one more video.
The term agribusiness covers any commercial operation across the complete value chain in agriculture, from the sale of raw materials and resources necessary to create biological products to distributors and retailers that get those products to the end consumers. Examples of agribusiness include fertilizer and nutritional companies such as Nutrien and Fortify AgriScience, marketing cooperatives such as the Dairy Farmers of America, or even vertically integrated multinationals such as Nestle and ADM. Although agricultural producers are central to agribusiness, each link in the ecosystem enhances and adds value to the end consumer, whether it ends up as food, fiber, or other biological products. We can categorize the agribusiness value chain into 4 links: input providers, producers, processors, and other service providers. Input providers focus on the necessities of producing raw agricultural products and to enhance production efficiency. They supply a variety of basic materials such as feeds and seeds to more advanced supplements and equipment. In some sectors and regions, labor remains a core input as there may be no alternatives. Producers are farmers and ranchers. They range from small family landholdings to large and intensive commercial operations that take place on both raw and cultivated land, or even within buildings like greenhouses. You're likely familiar with crop and animal production systems, but aquatic and forestry production also plays an important role in some regions. Processors refine raw agriculture materials into useful commodities and end products. We can divide processing into 2 steps. Primary processing involves minor transformations to the raw material, such as pasteurizing milk or packing meat into marketable commodities. Secondary processing takes these commodities and transforms them into something consumable. For example, cheese making or biofuel conversion. Finally, other service providers also play an integral role between these links and the end consumer. They range from marketers and distributors to retail locations, including your local farmer's market. Agribusiness is a vibrant and significant part of any economy. The United Nations estimates agriculture and value-added global revenue to be worth $3.5 trillion annually, or 4% of the world's GDP. Agribusiness also employs more than a quarter of the world's workforce.
Thank you very much, Latoya. Ladies, I just wanted to share that video with you because basically I think it covers everything that we have been saying for the night so far. It also gives us an opportunity to look back on some of the concepts that I mentioned. Would anybody want to share what stood out for them in terms of the video? Any highlights? Any feedback? Was it too much? Was the video too short? Okay, so let's look at some of the highlights. So basically, agribusiness, as we've been saying for the night, covers all the value-added activities that link raw material required for agriculture production to products and services that satisfy the demand of the end consumers of agriculture products. The video also mentioned that agriculture in agribusiness involves 4 links, which are the input providers, producers, processors, and other service providers. It says, although agriculture producers are central to agriculture, the agribusiness ecosystem enhances and adds value to its products to develop compelling value to the end consumer. When I started the presentation, I mentioned that if you are thinking business, especially if you're thinking agribusiness, it is important for you to look at customer. In business, we use the coin customer centric. So what happens is that basically every single thing that we do as it pertains to business and to business development is what the consumer or the customer says to us. So when we do our research, if they are saying to us that they want a cabbage that they can use in salads, or they want a cabbage that they can use in their smoothies, or if they would like to instead of just walk into the market and buy a whole head of cabbage, they want a cabbage that they can walk into a supermarket, a product that they can walk into a supermarket and pick up shredded cabbage. So we need to know what the customer wants, and then that's how we actually make the decision as to how we want our business to grow. So if you're at the idea stage and you're looking to do something as it pertains to agribusiness, you want to use that passion that you have and you're looking to move it, you need to do your research and see what the customers are saying, and then you move from there. If you're at the startup stage and things are going along okay and you want to make some changes, then again, you need to look at what is happening in the market. We need to use those 4 drivers that I mentioned in terms of agribusiness development. Look at the environment, look at technology, look at the market, look at what your customers, your consumers, in terms of taste and preference. And those are what you make, those are what you use in terms of making the decision as to how you go forward. And then in terms of looking at the value chain, you find where you fit within that value chain. Because you might probably decide to just start as a farmer, but at the end of the day, you might decide to become a wholesaler. Or you might probably decide to hear what, let me just offer transportation services. So you might probably start, yes, as a farmer, you stay there, but your business falls within the service end of the agriculture, of the value chain. So it's good that you know your value chain, how your particular value chain looks, and then you move forward there in terms of the different decisions that you take to move the business forward. And then you have the different techniques that you can use to access revenue streams. It's important for you to understand where your money actually comes from. Where do you get your money from? So for example, when I started, I remember planting everything under the sun. I have now boiled down to my production to actually five products, because this is what my consumers said to me. So it's important to hear what, learn the different ways in terms of how you can add value, or decide on the different revenue streams that you need. So it's important to look at those things. Now is where I give you an opportunity to ask questions, make suggestions and comments, identify areas that you would like me to touch on in the additional sessions, and information that you would like me to provide for you in addition. I know I have to find some information on Facebook for Miss Francis, so I would bear that in mind. So now is your questions and answer sessions. So ladies, ask your questions, and so we have a couple of minutes still that we can utilize. Remember, I still have that quiz that I want to share with you. Sorry, Amanda, that your internet dropped. I'm sure that you will get the slides and the recordings. So,
Okay, so
questions?
for somebody like me who has my backyard gardening basically in containers, what would you say to me?
Well, what I would say to you presently, Michelle, is that you are in the era right now in terms of what is happening in the agriculture industry. I'm sure that you have heard about vertical farming. I'm sure that you have heard about hydroponics. So I think to a certain extent, you have already started to deal with the technological end of what is happening in agriculture. And I would advise you, I mean, if you want to keep it backyard, yes, but we are in a session that is looking to move you from what you're doing to the next step. So I would say to you, look at how you can actually use what you're doing and create a business for yourself. You're utilizing your backyard. For example, I have my backyard. My backyard is full of fruits. And to be honest, what I do, I sell those fruits and pay the government their land and house tax at the end of the year. So you need to utilize the space that you're having, and you are beautifully poised right now to take up this whole technological stage that we are going through in terms of agriculture, and move what you're doing probably to the vertical stage. And also you can probably be doing a bit of aquaculture as well, where you can actually also gain another revenue stream. So I would say to you, Michelle, go for it. Look at how you can use your backyard to actually create a business and make money. And there are stakeholders out there who can actually help you to move it from where you are and go forward. So I look forward to hearing good things from you. Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Hello, this is something I would like to ask. Okay, this is Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
I'm talking about the road and stuff like, so the road going to the land is very bad, because I know where my dad land is, where I'm walking. That road, I has to go to some grass. Sometimes my skin wet up even before I reach in that land, just to do what I have to do. So the road also need fixing, even cleaning, and which is not doing right now to go to the land then. Some of the road are very terrible.
Sharon, you would not want to see the road that I go on as well. I have taken it up with Braxa. I got other farmers around me to go into Braxa. Well, what happened? To actually get to where I am farming, I need to cross the river a couple times. And during the freak storm for 2013, 2015 that we had, I actually lost my bridge that took me from the main road to the farm. And that became such a challenge in terms of that is what actually woke me up to basically what I was doing and say here what I need to make a change, because I remember I was reaping Edos and I had to make approximately 20 chips to move from the farm to get it to the other side of the river, and I didn't have a bridge. So I had to basically take it from the farm to the end of to the riverbank, and then take it from the riverbank, cross the river over to the next side. So I am fully aware of the issue. I took on the initiative of actually packing stones for myself and all of that. And then we had another freak storm, and it went to the stage where I just really couldn't do anything. So it forced me, and that's where environmental change forced me to make changes as to how I produce and what I was doing. So as I said, when I started 20 odd years ago, I was planting almost everything. I was producing. When I tell you literally, I had animals. I think when I registered, I had over 100 head and more of animals. And no, I don't do that much. And it all saying where they say you need to work smart and not hard. Sharon, is something you probably might need to look into. Because in terms of the road, you and I don't have any control over that. That's a public good. And so it's the policy end of it that belongs to basically government. I don't know if we allowed to make changes. I've tried to see where I could do in my little bit in terms of easing access, but I know I am fully aware of the situation as it pertains to the feeder roads. I have it just as bad as you. So Sharon, what you probably need to do is rethink what you're doing now and see what you can do to make it a bit easier. And then, if we see change, then you can think, but you might probably need to be the catalyst for that change. Because I have been trying to do my end in terms of speaking to persons at Braxa, speaking to other different stakeholders that I know in terms of getting the feeder road issues addressed. But it's just something that we have to keep working on in terms of the farming community. So I hope that helps, Sharon. Any other question?
Thank you. That's until I scribble down the rest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, no problem. Somebody mentioned their vehicles. I won't even want to share my story with my vehicle. My axle broke the other day, and I was out of a vehicle just on that road. So I know I'm fully aware of the pain that we as persons in the agro industry face, in the agriculture industry face as it pertains to production of food to feed the nation. As I say, it begins at the policy level, and that's why I mentioned the whole empowerment of organizations. We have to work together, peoples. We have to work together. We have to put our plight out there. We have to utilize technology. We have to utilize our social media. I think I went so far as to tell one of the politicians that I'm going to put it on Facebook. So hear what? We have to work together. It's the only way that we can actually make change. That's why I really wanted to mention the whole empowerment of organizations. I know in terms of out of vehicle, trust me, I know. I know what that is. I've just experienced that about a week ago. All right, good. So I in my presentations, I always like to leave a tip with ladies, especially, and Helen's daughter actually gives me that opportunity. So I want to leave a tip with you. I want to tell you time management and perseverance is very important. Don't watch the clock. Do what the clock is doing and keep going. Ladies, I know that there are a lot of challenges out there. I fully understand. But I would love to encourage you to actually continue to do what you're doing. We have to feed ourselves. It's the only way that I know would be sustainable in the end of the day. Supply logistics are crazy right now. The Russian war, Ukraine war is not going to be the only thing that we're going to face. Agriculture have weathered so much. But we could only weather it if we have persons who are passionate and persistent in who love this industry and who wants to see the industry go. Remember to share what you know, and to involve the youths in any which way that you can help them. All right. So I just wanted to leave that tip with you. Again, don't watch don't watch the clock, do what it does and keep going. And it's from Sam Leverson. All right. Thank you. Can one start an agribusiness with a fowl? Of course. The poultry production. So if you look at poultry, you have broilers, you have layers and yard fowl. My grandmother supplied us with eggs for years until her up until her 90-something death. She had yard fowl and she supplied eggs. So yes, you can. It depends on what you want to use the yard fowl to do. You need to look around and do your research and see what the consumer is saying to you, and then decide if the yard fowl is actually the best route to go, or if there is a niche market for it. So you need to do the research first. All right. And remember, always take into account what your customer is saying. Very important. How do you go on this market? You mean in terms of Patrice, are you saying in terms of leasing of land? Or you're renting from someone and you want to use the land around in terms of agriculture? Can you just be a bit more clear on your question, please? Patrice, are you there still? Ladies, we have 3 minutes, and I want to put that quiz in the chat. Latoya, can we go ahead in the meantime that we're doing the question and answer session and share the link?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Access to seeds locally. I am fully aware of the sweet corn issue. Up to Sunday, I was having a conversation with another farmer. I don't know if by chance you probably know of a farmer that can probably help you with seeds. As I said, input's going to be an issue, especially what's going on with this Russian Ukraine. And even if we just look regionally, a lot of our seeds come from Trinidad. A lot of our seeds come from Trinidad, and persons bring in seeds from Barbados and stuff like that. But we know the government policies that are in place in terms of quarantine and stuff like that. What I normally do is that yearly I would go to Trinidad and I would buy seeds in bulk, and I would use my farmer's card and bring them in. I tend to also do it in terms of chemicals as well. If I have to use any, I tend not to. I use my farmer's card and I use. So I don't know if you have persons in the countries in the region that you can access seeds from, or if you know of any old farmer that has sweet corn seeds that you can get from. So let's see. Okay, so they're persons. Okay, so in terms of so Patricia, you're living on a rental property. Then you're going to need to have some conversation with the owner and see if they would allow you to, because of course there are rules and regulations as it pertains to that in terms of the sharecropping and things like that. So you're going to need to have a conversation with the person that you're renting from, and then you can move from there. All right. Okay. Somebody is suggesting, Patrice, Shafika is suggesting that you can get, yes, you can get seeds. Yes, I think I've seen this name. This gentleman, I believe that he's selling seeds. I think you can get sweet corn from him. Yeah, I think, yeah. What is the quiz about? Bettina, it's about what we did tonight. It's just, I just want you to know, to look at it and see what you took away, what you might probably need me to cover in another session. And so it's a very, very short quiz.
Can someone confirm that they got the quiz open, please?
You did not get the quiz open?
I did. I'm asking one of the participants if
okay.
I
tried,
I didn't.
So you did not. I see that Latoya reposted it in the chat, so you can probably try the repost. So look in the chat again. She reposted it. You can download it, and it's not opening. So let me see. Let me try. And I try to make it as simple in terms of accessing.
It's opening in a browser. I'm not sure what the problem is.
Oh yeah, and it's opening for me as well too, so I'm not sure what's the problem. Okay. No,
Maybe you have to go out and open it and not open it from Zoom.
Probably. You probably need to just copy the link into your browser and open it. So just take the link, copy it, and put it into your browser and try. That's why I am over my 8 o'clock time. I would just want to give you one more opportunity to ask any other question. And just to remind you, Fiona and, let's see, I want to make sure that I have the name right. Fiona and Angeline, you would be my 2 persons who I'm looking forward to in terms of recap for tonight's session. So I would give you 5 minutes on Thursday to recap for us before we actually begin the session. Just to inform you, on Thursday coming, we would be looking at tools for business development. We would also be looking at some strategies that you can use in terms of developing your business. And I hope you actually got the chat open. So ladies, let me say again, thank you for participating and for being such good champions and making the session interactive. I know it was all about concepts, but I'm looking forward to your interaction for session 2 on Thursday. Thanks again.
Good night.